Folks, good morning, each and everyone. Can I get a vibrant response from you guys? Good morning, everyone. That's how we start. We start with positive energy. And you see that Mother Nature that give us that light, energy? Let me be more stronger than that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and a pleasure to stand among you wonderful folks here. In this capacity, I have been called upon by Chris and other members to take the opportunity to start today's proceeding. We ask the Divine Lord to be a part of this proceeding here today. Being Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, or whatever nationality, or ethnicity, or religious background you are, a moment of silence to involve the Lord blessings with us here today. Can we have that moment, please? Thank you very much. There's a great saying says, silence speaks wonders. As today we had the opportunity to walk down Liberty Avenue with some amazing, energetic individuals collectively. And among us, we have four important figures here today standing as Republican candidates for changes and betterment in New York State, city, and most of all, greater extent, USA. These individuals are Paul Rodriguez. Raise your hand to the audience here, please, Mr. Paul. Put your hands together for him, please. Mr. Paul King, the King of Queens. Put your hands together and make some noise for him. Joe Pinion for U.S. Senator. Mr. Joe Pinion has some great opinions, and listen to him as he's going to share it with y'all. Last but not least, this young man that is standing next to me that make me look a little bit handsome next to him is Mr. Michael Henry. Put your hands together as he'll be eliminating the idiot we have here in our present position as an Attorney General who reflects nothing but a racist and a biased individual based on what she's done to not only New Yorkers but beyond the shores of the USA, especially our golden country called Guyana, with the help of a very racist individual, Rickford Burke in Brooklyn. So we need to sensitize you guys to cast your vote Republican straight down. There is no ifs and buts about that. I've been working at the polling station and I observed some time back when I was working, some of the folks who work at the polling station, they're pro-Democrats. So they're telling people, they brainwash the people. You see here, Democrat vote all the way straight down. I observed that at many polling stations and I work there. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, energetic wise, put your hands together for these four amazing sons of USA. No, I want to be vocal and physical. Make some noise for them, please. Mr. Jack Barat is in the audience. Hey, thank you very much. Without any hesitation, the man who's going to make things work better for USA or New York, Mr. Michael Henry, our Attorney General to be and will always be. Put your hands together for him, please.
Thank you all for having me here in Little Guyana today. My name is Michael Henry, and I'm running to become your next Attorney General because we all know that things are not okay. And the good news is this November 8th, we are going to dismiss Tish James from the Attorney General's office. The day before, Tish James declined our debate invitation. She was caught in Brooklyn praising a man named Rickford Burke, who is wanted in Guyana for terrorism, for racism, and much more. Yay! And this man, everyone knows what he's done in his home country. But I was surprised to learn of the threats of violence that he's been calling for on businesses and homes in this community. Yeah. And this man, who Letitia James called her brother from another mother, is not going to get away with engaging in calls for political violence in the state of New York when I am the Attorney General of this state. Exactly. Well said. Unlike Letitia James, I'm not going to be a pro-criminal Attorney General. I am going to be here for you and your families. And I love this state. And I love this country.
We love you too.
And we all come here to live side by side. And threats of political violence and threats of violence coming from another country to here are not going to be tolerated.
Exactly. Exactly.
And for some reason, Letitia James thought she could use the power of her office and call on other Democrat attorney generals and call on the Biden DOJ and Biden administration to get involved in the democratic process in Guyana.
Also a key Malaysia one.
But you want the truth? Letitia James is advancing election denialism. The United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, the European Union, and many Afro-Caribbean nations have stood by the validity of the 2020 election. And Letitia James should do her research instead of trying to divide people. She has no business trying to get involved in the democratic process in another country.
Well said. Well said. Well said.
But the good news for everyone here is 2 Trafalgar polls have me leading Letitia James for Attorney General of the state of New York. And what we are going to do is we are going to work together to tackle the crime crisis, to tackle the corruption crisis, to tackle the cost of living crisis. And we're going to work together to make sure your children have access to a good quality education.
Well said. Well said.
But this race is going to be close. And everybody has to tell your friends, your neighbors, your family, go on social media, go on WhatsApp, tell everybody to get out and vote Republican down the line.
Top to bottom.
Letitia James showed what everybody's realizing. The Democrats have not only abandoned Little Guyana, they've abandoned the people of the state of New York.
Well said.
I'm running to be your next Attorney General. Letitia James doesn't want to be Attorney General. She wants to be the governor. And she's using this office for her personal ambitions.
She's incapable of.
I'm running to represent you and your families. And this November 8th, we are going to dismiss Tish.
Yes, yes.
And when I'm the Attorney General, it's not going to be the communities like Little Guyana that are living in fear of the threats of violence. It's going to be the criminals who are living in fear of being held accountable for their actions.
Yes, yes.
And we are going to restore a sense of what's right and wrong, and we are going to change the face of what New York politics looks like. Thank you all. Michael Henry 4AG, spread the word. We are going to win this election November 8th, and we're going to do it with the help of communities like Little Guyana.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our future AG. When I say AG, not Attorney General, action guy. He's going to take action in his own hands and make things better. Put your hands together for the action figure, Attorney General. Everybody make some noise for him, please. After all these gentlemen finish their public address to you all, we will have a little bit question interaction with them. So let them make their presentation to you all first, then we're going to take questions. Okay? Just cooperate with us, please. Next, I'd like to introduce to you all Mr. Paul Rodriguez. He's running for the state controller. Put your hands together for him, for Mr. Paul.
Sorry. Oh, no, sorry. You're going to leave me like Joe Biden there? Now, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Rodriguez. I'm running for New York State Controller. Now, for those of you who don't know exactly what the controller does, through the oversight of any activity where state spending is utilized and through his stewardship of the state's pension fund, the controller can exert influence over nearly $500 billion of the state's money. And yet most people have no idea who the controller is, much less what the controller does. So part of that function is fighting corruption, is making sure that we are keeping our promises to our retirees. So in other words, you have a lot of power to do a lot of good for New Yorkers, but instead, it's become increasingly apparent that the extent of the Democrats' campaign here in New York, and in fact, I would say nationwide, is 2 things. Republicans, and by extension, of course, Lee Zeldin here specifically, we hate women and we hate democracy. Now think about that second one. We hate democracy. Such wonderful rich irony considering what we're discussing here today with Tish James. The only election denial that is going on is not really what happened 2 years ago here in this country. It's what they're doing yet right now. That's the true election denialism. That's the true bullying. That's the true meddling in democracy. So think about it. The party that likes to fashion itself, listen, we're the Democratic Party, so we believe in democracy. Except when we don't agree with the results. That's the true election denialism. But let me tell you right here what we're facing as New Yorkers, and I put this to people very simply. The American dream is currently in jeopardy here. Now, what do I mean by the American dream? It's nothing more complicated than having the ability and freedom to be able to improve your condition and end life in a better place than where you started from. And as a parent, a father of 3 daughters, to me, my American dream is making sure that their life is better than what I had it. And I'm sure when they have their children, they'll want to make their life better for their children than what they had it. But unfortunately, for more and more New Yorkers, that dream is becoming elusive. They're finding it much harder, if not impossible, to be able to achieve their American dream here in New York. And we all know the reasons. We have the highest taxes in the nation. We have a crippling cost of living that only gets worse. We have an environment for investment in business that's very hostile, whether it's large business or small business. We have rampant corruption. And yes, of course, we have the deterioration of public safety, of rising crime because of cashless bail, because of idiotic policies such as defund the police.
Yes, exactly.
And because of the end of broken windows policing, where it's basically become open season on anybody walking down the streets.
So on steroids.
For this reason, hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers have already left this state. Now, for those of us who have stayed behind, Kathy Hochul, our governor, says, well, if you disagree with me, you can leave.
It's a complete clown.
But those who stay behind, those of us who love and are trying to make this the place to raise our families, she says, those who stay behind, I'm going to squeeze the life out of you. Because the more money that I spend, the more money that I waste, the more money that I give away to donors, allegedly, the more we're going to have to tax you to keep the government running. So we are facing an inflection point. What happens between now and don't think of just November 8th. You know, in martial arts, they tell you to punch through your target. You're going to have to think beyond November 8th. Because you know there's going to be shenanigans. Already in the press, they're starting to say, it is ridiculous and absurd that anyone should assume that we'll have election results on Tuesday evening. This will probably take very, very, many days, perhaps weeks. They're already trying to condition you to think that, hey, don't expect to actually know what's happening November 8th. I think we will know who's going to be the new governor, attorney general, controller, senator, and down the line, most of them November 8th. But keep in mind that you have to work from now and beyond it. And remind everyone you know, every neighbor, every friend, every colleague, remind them who are the ones who were forcing you, who were forcing your kids to be masked, that were forcing you to be masked, who would actually give you a ticket on the street, believe it or not, cops giving people on the streets for not wearing masks, who would fire you for not getting vaccinated, who are basically turning a blind eye when you're in the store and someone's shoplifting, or someone mugs you, or someone jumps a turnstile. Who are the people who are responsible for that? Who is the party that's bringing you their great democracy to you? Who are the ones who, if you don't agree with them, they will shut you down and they will censor you? Because now it seems that in order to save democracy, we must undermine it by basically suppressing everyone's freedom of speech and freedom of thought. We have to make a very tangible and salient change, because otherwise more and more New Yorkers are going to give up and are going to be leaving the state. And for those of us who love it here and who want to raise our families here, we need a true change. So please join us to help serve our state. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, kindly put your hands again for Mr. Paul Rodriguez, who will be running as state controller. Remember, we need change. Not change, we need changes in all formats. And the only way we can do that is going straight from top to bottom with a big R, Republican. We're going to make New York and USA red again. Remember to, despite I only mentioned this guy, we have a very important figure, the governor of New York. We need change, so we have to vote a Republican governor. So remember to cast that vote. Next, I'd like to introduce to you all here, no other than Mr. Paul King, the king of all kings, and the king of queens, and the king of New York State. Put your hands together, king of all kings, Mr. Paul King, PK.
Thank you. So my name's Paul King, and I want to represent you in Congress. Yeah. And like my friends here, I believe in the American dream. My grandfather is off the boat from Italy more than 100 years ago, worked hard to build a great life for our family. He had a fair shot, grew up in Brooklyn, got it done. And I'll always be grateful to that borough. But ladies and gentlemen, the home of the American dream is here in Queens, in Little Guyana. Immigrant communities renew America. When you come here, start businesses, own homes, build great communities, you need our support. That's what makes America great over the centuries, just not today. And we need to get that back. And as Paul was saying, and I'm sure Joe's going to say as well, is we're all about the American dream. It's too hard today when the government's working against you. It's hard to build your American dream when there's so much crime. You have to worry about your family. You have to worry about your kids getting attacked because of the color of their skin. If you're a businessman, you have to worry about people who are able to come into your store and just steal stuff and walk away because they know they're going to get away with it. That ends.
And then they lock you up on the shop owner.
Yeah, if you're the shop owner and you defend yourself, you're in jail. That ends. Working with these gentlemen, we're going to put an end to that. Inflation robs money from everyone, and you can't save money to buy a home, to start a business, if you're struggling to pay for food and energy, and it's going to be a bad winter for energy costs because of the Biden administration. Well, Joe and I are going to go down to Washington and change some things. We're going to get this back on track so you can afford to keep planning for the future. And the future belongs to our children. The public school systems here, we're lucky to have a few great public schools here, but on the whole, it's failing us. And the Democrats are focusing on pushing parents aside to indoctrinate your kids in different values than you have. We need them to have our values. We need them to learn the essential skills they need in life so that they can be the next great American generation. So I'm proud to work with these folks, and I make you a promise. This won't be the last time you see us. When we're in office, we'll be back here working with you. That's how problems get solved, working with people who live the life, who know the problems, not staying in some ivory tower, not staying in Washington and saying, well, I'm busy, I'm getting you money. No, we need to work with you, and I look forward to that, and thank you for the opportunity.
Who are you running against?
I'm running against Gregory Meeks for Congressional District 5 here in Rockaway, here in Queens. I'm from Rockaway, and thank you again.
Put your hands together for Mr. Paul King. Remember, folks, when you go to the polling station and you see these names, there are pamphlets out there or literatures to sensitize and educate you who they are and what they're there for. So please take one and make use of it. Educate yourself. Oh, do me a favor. I want to acknowledge your presence here. Please come. Look at this young lady's hat. What it reads. Where are you from, Mama?
Colombia.
Colombiana, mucho cumbia, tiene mucho fiesta aquí. Ladies and gentlemen, mi hermana from Colombia, America. Put your hands together for her. What's your heart reads? Trump 2024. You see, the media and the opposition and the present government administration, they want to paint President Trump as a racist and the Republican as a racist. No, they are not. This is a living example to show the Republican and the president is not about race. Thank you, sister. Mucho gracias, mi hermana or mi mama. You could be my mama. Tiene mucho. Es bueno, mama. Ladies and gentlemen, this young man, Mr. King, who just spoke, he's from Rockaway. And the only way you want your way to be rock, vote for him. He's gonna rock your way to victory, for betterment. So, Mr. King of all kings, put your hands together for me one more time. Thank you, mama. Next, I'll have a very important man next to me. He looks younger than me. And I would like to, Chris, allow me, let me do my business. Yeah. I have Mr. Joe Pinion. he will be running for U.S. Senator. Put your hands together for him, please. Mr. Joe, the floor is all yours. Put your hands together for this brother, please. This how the Republican is very diverse, you see? We not racist. We are very important people, or a party for each and everyone. Mr. Joe Pinion, take it away from here, brother.
Well, it's good to be here with all of you at this historic corner. For those that don't know, I am Joe Pinion, the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate, running against Chuck Schumer, a man who has been down in D.C. for 42 years, has been in the United States Senate for 24 years, and I promise you our lives are not better off as a result. We live in a state where 1 out of 3 black children live in poverty. We live in a state where we have 65% of the students that look like me that cannot read at grade level. That is not a legacy of success. It is a legacy of failure, but more importantly, it is an abdication of responsibility. We are here because of the political circumstances, but I promise you it is bigger than politics why we all chose to run. We are here to make a new covenant with this community. We are here to make a new pact with the people that call New York State home. That you should not have to flee your home to live your best American existence. I stand here before you, the first Caribbean American ever nominated for U.S. Senate in the history of New York State. I didn't run to make history, but it is certainly important that we note that fact, because perhaps the absence of people that look like us down in D.C. with the power that is given to those in the United States Senate is the reason why, when we call on people like Chuck Schumer to ensure there's enough baby formula on the shelves, the call goes unanswered. He's an idiot. Perhaps that is part of the reason why, when we look at what happened down in Haiti, where the president is assassinated with co-conspirators that live in Florida, people like Chuck Schumer say, I have no idea what happened. This is not an accident. We are living through failure by design, and the people that bear the brunt of that failure are the people that call communities like this home. Jamaican communities, Guyanese communities, Caribbean communities writ large have not received the America that was promised, because the people that like to bang on the table and say only they are willing to fight for us go down to DC with the power that we have given them, and then use our promise as a bargaining chip to empower themselves, enrich their friends, and we have nothing left to show for ourselves but shattered dreams. And so I'm here to make promises we intend to keep. That we're going to keep coming back here to this community.
As elected officials.
That we are going to promise to say that when you call us, we will answer the phone. You will not get a recording that says we are not taking calls at this time, send an email. Which is what happens often when you call Charles Ellis Schumer's office.
Oh, wow, sad.
We need people that prioritize your pain, but also prioritize your dreams. The dream of home ownership has become further and further away because the opportunity that is supposed to be given to homeowners has become a distant memory. When you look at the crime that has gripped this community, we start with the drugs that you can find almost on every single corner. Where do they come from? An open border that Chuck Schumer wants to keep open. The fentanyl that now is the leading cause of death for anyone that lives 18 to 45 in this nation. That is abysmal, and you do nothing about it. It is bringing death to black, white, Hispanic, and everyone in between. Asians, everyone alike is dying because of this neglect. I can deal with the man who makes a mistake and admits it. I cannot deal with people who see a problem and want to pretend nothing is going wrong. And Chuck Schumer has been pretending that nothing is going wrong in our lives for 42 years. With your help on November 8th, we're going to make sure that he never has the power to ruin our lives ever again.
Well said, well said.
So we are here for a rally, which means that we have to give some instructions. The instructions are clear. If your friends and your family members have not seen our debate against Chuck Schumer, encourage them to watch it, to get a clear side-by-side comparison, to hear from a man whose only ideas didn't work 20 years ago, and yet he keeps trying to implement them today. Hear from a man who says he loves us, but was also silent when they threatened our community with eviction in the midst of COVID if we didn't get vaccinated, threatened to throw our children out of school if they didn't get vaccinated, threatened to make sure we had no place in civil society if we did not do what they wanted us to do. That is not a message of hate. That is a message of contempt. And yet somehow they think with that contempt they show for us, we are still supposed to lie down, kneel down, and give them the purest thing we have to offer them, our vote and our voice. We're here to reclaim our voice. We're here to let everybody know that there are people like Michael Henry, people like Paul Rodriguez, people like Joe Pinion who are going to fight for this community with every breath that they have. My grandmother, the woman that put the Bible in my crib, the woman that put the fear of God in my spirit, she died alone at 100 years old in a nursing home. And we now know that this government of our state, this government of our nation, lied to us about the threat of COVID, lied to us about the dangers in those nursing homes, then used government resources to cover up that lie. That's not my opinion. That is a report that has been put in a report that's been put out by the comptroller of this state, Paul Rodriguez's opponent. Where's the investigation in Congress into what happened to my grandmother? Where is the investigation into the fact that the majority of the people that did the dying disproportionately in those nursing homes look like us? Turns out nobody cares, except when it's time for them to come show up and ask for your vote. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, we are asking them to do something maybe they have never done before, maybe they thought they could never do. Go down to their local polling place and fill in a bubble next to a person who has an R next to their name. I'm not asking them to adopt the gospel of republicanism. I'm not asking them to change their party affiliation. I'm asking them to place their trust in my hands as I place my heart in yours and say together, we are going to build a better New York. We are going to restore the promise of America. We are going to make sure that the dream that brought my mother from the shores of Jamaica to the beacon of hope right here in New York, that promise is restored. So God bless you all. Thank you so much for coming out here. Spread the word that Guyana has a friend in Joe Pinion. Guyana has a friend in Michael Henry. Guyana has a friend in Paul Rodriguez. But more importantly, that this community, every New Yorker, have champions in those who place their needs, their promise, and their dreams over the politics that are ripping this nation apart and bringing us to our knees no more. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this young man here, who will be running as U.S. Senator, deserves our vote. For too long, Chuck Schumer took us for granted, or taken us for granted. Time for change, time for betterment. R for Republican, R for restored and rebuild. Put your vote together for Republican again. One more time. I didn't know this brother from Jamaica, man. Man, that's my youth. Respect you, brother.
Warwick Castle.
Where's my youth?
Warwick Castle.
Boom, fire. Everybody.
You know, he's not the only Caribbean. I'm Puerto Rican, so I'm also in the Caribbean.
Oh, you from PR. Okay, you have some pizza beans and rice for you later, man.
Trying to keep us to the side.
No, I wouldn't do that. That's why you're close to my side. Ladies and gentlemen, ma'am, please come quickly. Come quickly. Rapido, por favor. This young lady here, having some papers, come, it's a newspaper. It says, Queens County Beacons. On the Beacons paper, you see the A team. This is the A team that will take this state and this city and the country to a better direction. So please take a paper from her, please. Oh, she write that, she escribe article. Bueno, mama. So please support the cause. It's free. So it's not about money. So please, she's representing the Republican. So please do me a favor. Take a paper from her and read what is it all about. Time for questions and answers. QA. Mr. My Italiano Guyanese. Please, I always forget your name, brother. Mike Duval. I give the mic to you, so if you have some question, you want to make a statement, please feel free to do so. These gentlemen will give you their listening ears.
Well, actually, good evening, everyone. I don't have a question because my question is about change, and I'm looking at change. So I'm going to bypass that question. Because the change is what we need. And most people, if you watch television, and the crime in their neighborhood is rampant, and they all say, you know what, I'm going to move. I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to Texas. Don't move. Move your vote. If you're a Democrat, move your vote over to the Republican column or the conservative column. Move your vote. Don't pack up and move to another place. It's very simple. If you do the same thing over and over, it's called insanity. And that's what we have right now. And a lot of people here who are Democrats, including myself, I will not vote Democrat this time. I will vote Republican. I will vote on the conservative line because I want them to get more votes on the gubernatorial race so they can stay as a party the next election. If they have less than 50,000, then they won't be on the ballot. Okay. Now, what I'm looking at here, and for the candidates, it's not a crowd. This crowd is like Congress, 535 people, but it represents the whole country. So what you have to do is go home and text your friend, call your friend, and tell them what you hear today, not to vote Democrat this time, vote Republican. I convinced a couple of people, and he told me, well, I'll vote for one, which is Zeldin. So I have to work in him a little more. Okay? But what you have to do, and not only go vote, when you vote election day, promise yourself, don't go by yourself. Take a couple of people with you and make sure they vote. That's how you make changes. You can't just call and say, well, I'll go vote. And I hope every one of you here, if you're not a registered voter yet, I know the Guyanese community is a very knit community. We know each other and we know everybody else. Just ask them, do me a favor. I know you're a Democrat, man. I know. But do me a favor this time and vote for change. And I go to Roy's Bar, and one of the reasons I'm here today is two of my friends got mugged on 103rd and 117th Street. And I'm saying it's coming close to where I live. And I'm looking for these guys to get changes. The governor is the guy who can make changes. And this is a democratic state. And if you don't deliver, then we know what to do. But he will deliver because he knows if he don't, change will happen. So thank you very much. And don't forget to vote. Don't forget to vote and don't vote alone. Thank you.
Hear what she said? Gregory Meeks become weak. He must go.
How many years he have been there?
Been there too long. 24. He look like he's older than some of the trees in New York. He's well rooted. For those who will have very important questions, for these important individuals standing next to me here, feel free to come up. Don't be ashamed. Don't be shy. Be brave. Anyone would like to ask a question or make a statement, please come forward and do so.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, take the mic. This is my brother from the Arya Samaj temple. My Rambridge, come forward.
What I found, the middle class people have been squeezed all around, either the Democrats or the Republican Party. What you guys will do with the middle class type of people who are being squeezed with the taxes and so forth? Especially, I mean, I voted for Donald Trump twice, right? But he have imposed taxes, a limitation, $10,000 deductible for the middle income, and it's making us pay $10,000, $12,000 more. So what you guys will do about that?
Yeah, we need to bring back the SALT deduction increase for every single homeowner immediately. Chuck Schumer is the most powerful man in D.C. He said he was going to get it done nearly 2 years ago. Where is it? I'll tell you where it is. It's on the cutting room floor, because every time it shows up in Joe Manchin's office, every time it shows up in Kristen Sinema's office and says he needs to get a vote, they say you can't have my vote unless you get rid of these SALT deductions. So guess what? The middle class tax relief that all of you deserve, it never shows up. But he still has his seat. he still has his job, he still has his power. So the first thing I do when I get down there is making sure that we're not talking about the politics, we're talking about the people. That means school choice for every single person that calls this state and this nation home, because our children deserve to go to whatever school gives them the best opportunity to succeed. It also means that we raise the cap on those SALT deductions to give you the tax relief you need. It also means that we stop printing money recklessly, which means that if you're on Social Security, your buying power goes down. That if you're somebody who's dependent on that 401k, you just watch that go down 30,000. If you're somebody who works a hard job every single day, you just watch your buying power down $6,000, your actual earnings down $4,000. That is a actual disaster, even if you got a raise, because most people didn't get a 10% raise. So we have to get serious about helping the middle class. We have a middle-out economy. America flourishes when we take our boot off the neck of the middle class and allow them to be able to robustly pursue their American dreams.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to add to that. I look forward to working with Joe in Washington on these issues. I mean, but there's two things you need to do. One is stop making it worse for people. So Joe talked about inflation, recklessly printing money. It drives up costs. Ultimately, it leads to recessions, and then look what we have now. The price of getting a mortgage is going to go up and up. So you can't own a home. This is what middle-class people want. So we need to stop the bleeding first, stop the bad policies. So we'll get there, and that'll be one of the first things we do. Then you need to create an environment where people can flourish. And for me, part of that is supporting small businesses. I'm a small businessman. I have employees. If I want to pay my people more, if I want to give them better health insurance, if I want to grow the business, which is good for the community, it's good for my employees, I need to get the government off my back. When they take money from me, when they take time away from me, when they steal that from me, they're stealing it from my employees, and those are the people in the middle class trying to raise their families. So we'll stop the bad stuff, and we'll create a better environment for everyone.
So one of the ways that we're going to need to do in order to make sure that they don't just keep taxing us more, we have to get spending under control. There's no way around it. We have to find ways to cut spending. But at least one thing we can do right now, when you turn your ballot around and when you see those ballot proposals, starting with the first one, which is asking us to take on another $4.5 billion of debt, we have to stop the government getting us more into debt and simply spending more and more money on programs or initiatives that may sound very benevolent and very nice. And, they said, I'm not against that. I want to make things better for people. I want more equity. Perhaps wherever you lie on climate change, I think we should address that. But keep in mind that these proposals are by and far just simply excuses to spend more and more of your tax dollars. And it's never enough, which means that they're going to run into shortfalls. Already they're talking about shortfalls next year because because now they're finally acknowledging that we are or will be in a recession and that we will likely need to raise taxes because we will have tax shortfalls next year. So one of the primary things you need to do is get that spending under control. Before we can even cut spending, we have to tell them, stop spending our money. This is not the time. Government, when things are fine, they love to increase spending. And when things are bad, they love to increase taxes. The notion that they should tighten their belts like the rest of us is completely alien to them. So you have to remind them, no, this is my money you're spending. It's not your money.
In this state, the Attorney General's office.
Are we going to have another January 6th?
What are you talking about?
No.
Yeah.
Hold on, let the man finish.
What are you talking about?
Let the man finish.
Like what Trump did
No,
at the White House?
Let the guy
I don't
finish.
need,
That is not for here. That's not for this.
Hold on, you gotta follow cue, man. No word to him.
Where's your intelligence?
No word to him.
listen, he can say what he wants. You don't have to insult him. In this state, the New York Attorney General's office oversees a lot of different industries. And what I want to do is professionalize this office. This office is not responsive to the needs of the people of this state. It lacks a lot of coordination, and it needs to be professionalized and streamlined to where people aren't waiting a year and a half to get a license. People aren't waiting a year and a half to get a piece of paper stamped. So what we are going to do is remove the politics from the office, professionalize it, and make it responsive in an efficient manner and a timely manner to the needs of the people of this state.
All right, thank you. Very good. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for this four men. There's 4 gentlemen that respond to this brother's question. Anyone here in this audience would like to ask a question? I must, on behalf of that individual, I'd like to apologize for that. Anyone, you ask any question, no problem. We're not feel offended, but you just think before you speak.
Yeah, but he can't try Donald Trump.
I want to tell you guys one thing. With this election, normally as individual, when we want to get to a better path, sometimes we cross the bridge or we cross the road to a different way. This election, you feel free to cross or cross over from Democrat to Republican. There's no fear about that. There's no changes. There's no fear. Have no fear. You feel free to make that change and cross over. So take the pleasure from a Democrat to a Republican, from top to bottom. When he said R, Republican, remember that. Folks, on behalf of my fellow Guyanese, please give your support to the Republican Party that has interest not only for this country, but for us as citizens of this state and this city. And most of all, a wide cross-section of the United States of America. I want to tell some folks in this audience here today, it wasn't for a Republican government under President Trump, there would never be a PPP government in Guyana. There will never be democracy in the true sense. Yeah, I want to tell you guys, President Trump was very instrumental and he orchestrated that his representative takes measures to restore peace and fair and democracy election in Guyana. So not who the media pointing fingers and, well, they say fake news. I will support that line, fake news. Please remember to vote Republican. If it wasn't for President Trump again, there will never be a PPP government in Guyana. And democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, 2024 will be the big day. It's called Judgment Day, where Republican will take this United States back in full control. Any folks would like to say something here, please come free. On this ballot, on this information here, this is reflecting that where you should say no on the ballot pertaining to these conditions. When you go to the polling station, I think you'll be having something of this nature. Vote, say no to all these changes. You have a race theory. Pardon me?
I have a question.
Please come forward, face the crowd and ask the question. Come from this way.
My question to you, sir, is just a result of the campaigning today. Is the Attorney General, Lita James, is she stepping out of her contest? Is she abusing her office to saying that Guyana government is a racist government, that the Guyana government don't treat the black people properly well? I would like to know why she go on public record on a big stage in Brooklyn saying that the Guyana government is a racist government. Can any one of you guys knows about Guyana government? Can you talk about Guyana government and let the people here know what this government is doing for Afro-Guyanese in Guyana presently now and what they were doing before 2015? Someone, can you please answer these questions?
Well, the problem with what Letitia James did is there was someone who was threatened not only political violence and been involved in political violence in Guyana and has multiple warrants for his arrest, including for terrorism, racial hatred, and much more. He's trying to incite and threaten people here in this community, saying that individuals should try to disrupt businesses and homes. And people here should not be threatened with political violence, especially political violence from an individual who's unwanted in another country. What I would say, what's going on here is this is just a pattern of Letitia James being pro-criminal. She has a soft spot in her heart for criminals. She is a pro-criminal, anti-police activist. This is an individual in 2018 who campaigned on cashless bail. She got what she wanted and it failed. And she could say that people say inaccurate things. We saw the video of your debate in 2018. You said, I've been fighting for cashless bail basically your whole political career. She got her start in politics in the Working Families Party. She was too far left when she ran for the city council for the Democrat Party to endorse her. And this year, she took an endorsement from that same party who said you cannot revisit any changes to cashless bail or take support from police and correctional unions. She said recently she needed to see more data. And quite frankly, it's a despicable mindset for the chief law enforcement officer of a state to have, because more data means more victims, and one victim is one victim too many. And the problem with her is she does not believe in law enforcement, and she does not believe in the rule of law, and she's engaged in election denialism, in contrast to what the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, the EU, and many Afro-Caribbean nations have said. If the things that she's claiming were going on, why are Afro-Caribbean nations standing up for the government of Guyana? The problem here is she probably didn't know the information, and she wanted to just celebrate her friend. Rickford Burke is Letitia James' brother from another mother. She's endorsed his behavior. She stood by his behavior. I promise the Indo-Guyanese community and the Guyanese community as a whole, when I'm the Attorney General, nobody is going to get away with threats of political violence to your families, your homes, and your businesses. And this is not a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It's an issue about human rights and decency.
You want to say something to that? Ladies and gentlemen, our Attorney General, to be, said something there. Put your hands together back for him, please. As a Guyanese in this foreign land, I very much appreciate you guys' concern of my country back home, based on what has recently transpired in Brooklyn, based reflecting racism against our country, our party in government. There's no, from since day one. Go ahead.
Nobody endorses racism, but what Letitia James does is she's a professional divider. Whole career is based on dividing people, whether it's party, whether it's race, whether it's religious affiliation, whether it's sexual orientation. We've had enough. We're all New Yorkers, we're all in this together, and when I'm running to be the Attorney General, I'm going to represent everybody, regardless of your race, gender, political orientation. She's a professional divider, I'm going to be a professional uniter. And I'm going to represent you even if you didn't vote for me, but you all need to vote for me, because you will get the change that you deserve. Stop the division, start uniting.
And I just want to say something for the gentleman who asked that other question before, that unlike Democrats, you can ask us anything. We Republicans respect free speech. We may not like what you're saying, we may not agree with what you're saying, but you know what? We're not going to shut you down. So you want to come afterwards, ask any of us whatever questions you have, you can. We're not going to take that right away from you, because that is the basis of democracy. Somehow this notion of the way to save democracy is to undermine it by making sure you don't say anything I don't like. That's not democracy. That is the tyranny of the Democratic Party, and under one party rule where there's no checks and balances and there is no diversity of opinion.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to acknowledge an individual who was very instrumental in making this event happen. There is no other than Professor Charles Sugrim. Put your hands together for him as a concerned Guyanese and a concerned resident or citizen of New York State and USA. Put your hands together one more time. Make some noise for him, please.
Thank you, MC. I want to thank all of you for being here this morning. We expected a larger crowd. I told the candidate we'll have a huge gathering here today. For some reason, they couldn't make it Saturday afternoon. But I want to let you know, please spread the word. Vote Republicans along the way. This time we need to change the dynamic of the country. And the country, look at New York. We have a democratic state. We have some of the most terrible crime. Look at the subway. Look at our education system. Look at, 2 years ago, gas price was $2. After the election on November 8th, you know what? Gas price will go back up to over $4.
That's right.
Because Joe Biden will not release more oil from the reserve. You will have to pay to the pump. Guys, let's vote Republican this election. Get elected to the Senate, to the Congress, to the Attorney General, to the Controller. Every state that every office we are running for, we ask you to please go out there, vote Republican this time around. I know Richmond Hill area is a strong Democratic base, but this time around, they will vote Republican. Please tell your friends, your family, go and vote for our guys. And we want to thank you so much for coming out and look forward when you elect them on Tuesday, they will come back to our community to meet with you to get all the issues. And I promise you they will address every single one. I know we have Deborah Mizir here who worked in the Bush administration. Deborah, you want to say a few words? Quickly. Thank you. She actually worked in the White House under the Bush administration.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. I'm here in my personal capacity, and my name is Deborah Mizir. I'm a Republican, a very, very proud Republican. I am so proud to stand with this diverse team here that is going to represent our interests. And Mr. Henry, you're right. It's a disgrace that any Attorney General in the United States would even implicitly advocate violence against one ethnic group. No way, there's no place for that. Thank you. Let's vote Republican in November.
That's the voice of Ms. Deborah Mizir. She was part and parcel of a Republican administration under President George Bush. Put your hands together for her, please, one more time. I have a very important man within this gathering here. He might be short, but he has a lot of tall responsibility and great capacity in this community. He's no other than Mr. Vishnu Mahadev. Vishnu, take off your mask, but don't rob nobody.
Well, folks, I want to make a simple comment, and that is Letitia James has shown us no respect, none whatsoever, because she did not consult with us. She did not engage us to find out our opinion. She did not care about what we stand for. And we as a people need to let her know, you cannot make statement about a foreign government when you're just a local elected official. She wants to stabilize and totally elected government. That is unfair for her. Rickford Burke cannot be a consultant for her because he is ill-informed, he's always biased and jaundiced. We need to stand up and let her know it is unacceptable. She needs to issue a press release before Tuesday to let us know where she stands on this issue that she was defaming the Guyana government. With that, I thank you again very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vishnu Mahadev. I'd like to echo a little bit more about that. Guyana government being attacked here by local elected official who doesn't have no jurisdictions of Guyana's government and Guyana's running. And it was well orchestrated on a racist basis, on a race basis. Once again, on behalf of Mother Nature and we fellow citizens of this community who came out here to listen and support these gentlemen with their agendas and what they plan to do, the initiatives to make and take New York State and City to a better and much more prosperous direction. With any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we start with silence. Let's end with silence. Let me ask the Divine Lord to guide these gentlemen and all other Republican candidates who will be there for us to cast our vote for them. Lord, I call upon you to bless these souls and guide our thoughts and remove all our ignorance so as we can guide our ways for betterment by voting Republican responsibly. Ladies and gentlemen, I call on the divine Lord with silence. Om, Om, Om. There's a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. Amen. And before I go, I'm very disappointed to a point that where this community didn't really come up in majority to be a part of this important procession. But nevertheless, they say one bad apple spoils the whole barrel. The little of us can have influence on the many who didn't come out here today. So please pass the word. Use the thing they call social media. Facebook, text message, WhatsApp, and let us sensitize the folks to go Republican. Once again, on behalf of us and this community, put your hands together. Would you like to say something? Okay, I have someone who was there initially. Would like to say something quickly? Then, 1 second. Say something quickly.
No, we didn't get there. It's the last one.
No, I just want to let everybody know that Mr. Henry, the candidate for Attorney General, will be showing up on Globespan on Monday night. So his dedication to the Guyanese community and outreach to us will continue on Monday. Elections on Tuesday, so please pay attention, go out and vote. We talked earlier about the economy. A recession is when a neighbor loses their job. A depression is when you lose yours, and a recovery will be when the Democrats lose theirs. So on that note.
And one thing, you don't need a press release from Letitia James. You know where she stands. You need to vote Republican and tell everyone else to vote Republican.
Well said, Attorney General. The last but not least, but final words from him. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Just don't forget, the only way for a betterment is red. Paint New York, USA red. Republican. Republican all the way. Once again, may the divine Lord continue to bless you. On the ballot, this paper they say here. Say no to these conditions. Say no to these conditions that is here. Say no.